Hi, I'm Kat and welcome to Kat Talks. Today I'm going to be talking about why you should read Silk by Alessandro Baricco. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but it is now. So this is a very adult novella written in 1996. It is about a young man who works in the silk industry, which means that he procures silk eggs and raises them into worms and then sells them to people who actually produce silk. And then they die. I think that's how it works anyway. This man, there has been like a plague on all of the silkworms in Europe, and he has to go to Japan to buy some eggs in Japan and, bring them back the long way to France before planes and everything. And also it was forbidden to go to France. Go to Japan. And so it's kind of dangerous work, and he's been sent to do this, and he's going to get very rich from it, essentially. That's the theme. While in Japan, he is doing business with this man and meets this woman who seems to belong to this man, is probably his wife or concubine or something, but that's never really explained in the novel. And while there, he meets her, or he sees her. He doesn't meet her, he sees her, and instantly attraction. She drinks from his teacup, he drinks from his teacup, that kind of thing. They've practically kissed at this point. They do not speak to each other for the entirety of the novel, but they do some pretty romantic-ass things for each other, and I'm definitely recommending checking out this book for that reason alone. It is beautifully written. The voice and the prose are fantastic. I've described this before like sipping red wine must feel like. You just want to savor the words there. It's so beautiful to read. It's like the kind of thing that I imagine people feel when they're in the Bahamas, I've never been, drinking red wine, which I've never done, feeling the sun, embracing their body. That is the feeling I get from Silk. It is kind of an introduction to how you can write like a poet. The man uses repetition in various chapters, like some entire chapters are almost word for word identical, but they're very short, so don't worry. In order to show you the long and arduous and repetitive journey that this man takes to Japan from France and back again. It blows my mind how well written this is. And the translator must have done an impeccable job. This thing is wild. I'm not even joking. Go read it. Rah. So as I said, its strengths are definitely in its usage and placing of words. This is a manuscript, a magnificent manuscript, beautifully placed, beautifully decided, beautifully written. The plot is kind of non-existent. We're going towards its weaknesses. The plot is kind of non-existent, but what little plot there is, obviously there can't be that much because our two main characters can't talk to each other, and one of them isn't really a main character at all. But I definitely think that it is a beautiful love story, even though the love story isn't between the two people that you would expect it to be between. It also, so this is a bit of a spoiler, but it also suffers from an incredible change of tone in one of the last chapters that definitely detracted from my experience and enjoyment of the book. I think that the book would have been so much better had this entire chapter not been about what it was. So, as an author, what can you learn from this? Well, you can learn, as I said, pacing and the use of words to convey tones. It's almost poetry the way he uses words in this book, and it is beautiful. If you can write like this and you get a decent plot, you are onto a bestseller for sure. Another example of writing like this is Circe, but sadly, if you've seen my April wrap-up, that's the one, you'll know that that isn't out yet. If you've seen my reading blog where I read Circe, you'll know that that was a bit of a disappointment for me. The writing wasn't as beautiful as Alessandro's, and it was like 4 times the length with less plot somehow, so yeah. But if you have a plot and write this well, you are 10 out of 10, my friend. So, what can you learn to avoid? I think from this one you can learn to avoid the abrupt changes in tone. The kind of like underlying story so there is the overarching story of this man and his concubine, and then there is an underlying one. The way that is done, the style in Silk, is really well done, and it did not need the abrupt change of tone to make it obvious or apparent. And honestly, that kind of like lessened the book. I think it's still probably a 5-star for me, but like a lower 5-star if that's such a thing. I will definitely be rereading this book on several occasions, hopefully in the summer, just because that's how beautiful it was. Like, I cannot express to you how much I enjoyed reading it, except for that one chapter. But the abrupt change of tone did almost lose it a star, so you can definitely learn from this book how not to do that. Now, normally, as you know, at the end of these Read This Ifs, I provide comps, which are books that have a comparison to the novel in question. I don't really have any recommendations for Silk comps. I couldn't think of anything I'd read that even came close to this, except for listening to the podcast by LeVar Burton Reads, which I will link down below. Every single short story he chooses is just as good, and if you're looking to get into short stories, whether that's reading or writing, I would push you into his podcast. It is so good, and his voice is so well made for narration. People say that when they listen to me read books, they can fall asleep, and with him it's more like you can be transported to another world. And I don't really like audiobooks, and that's how good Levi Burton is. Alright, that is it from me. I hope you guys have an amazing week. Don't forget to hit like if you liked, and subscribe, but not that. And subscribe if you want to see more of these. I post these every Tuesday, and have a wonderfully blue sky. Bye!